Hello, welcome to the Ben and Polly channel, and this is a ranking video of Ben and Polly's televised stories. There were 9 in total, so this is an opportunity to learn a bit more about them, who in my opinion are very underrated classic Who companions, mostly because a lot of their stories were deleted by the BBC. So Ben and Polly were actually the first companions since Ian and Barbara back in 1963 that came from a contemporary Earth, which in this case is 1966, where the two characters meet in a nightclub. Polly was a receptionist and Ben was a sailor, and they were companions to both the first Doctor and the second Doctor, so obviously the first companions to witness a regeneration. So it's a bit surprising that they're so underrated, really. And I bet people watching Twice Upon a Time, when it showed Ben and Polly with the Doctor when he was regenerating, were like, who the hell's that? Well, I'm about to show you. So here we have number 9, the Smugglers, which is a bit of a pirate adventure in the vein of Curse of the Black Spot, but it's definitely not as fun and it's a tad controversial. So yeah, not the best, and it doesn't technically exist, so it is just pictures you're going by, but it does have the iconic line of Ben telling Polly to put the kettle on, which I find hilarious. But yeah, it's not great, but obviously if you want your Ben and Polly fix, go for it. On the surface, Ben appears to be just quite a comedian character, like Graham in the new series, but actually there's a lot more depth to him, and most of the time Polly is actually saving him instead of the other way around, like a damsel in distress. Next we have number 8, the Faceless Ones, which is Ben and Polly's last story, which they're actually not in very much. And maybe that's the reason why I don't like it, but I believe it was a 6-parter and it did stretch on a bit. Basically, people start to go missing from an airport, and the Doctor, Jamie, Ben and Polly are trying to figure out what's going on, but yeah, Polly goes missing, and it's all I find it a bit boring, to be honest. Definitely not my favourite. The monsters look good though, but yeah, I think that's quite highly regarded, but it's just not my thing. Next we have the Moonbase, which is a Cybermen story with the second Doctor, Jamie, Ben and Polly. It has a few really good moments. Jamie sort of gets knocked out by this Cyberman, and he imagines that the Cyberman is the Phantom Piper, which is this sort of legend of the Highlander people who Jamie belongs to. And there's little moments like that. Polly is very creative and very funny, but yeah, it's not one of my favourites. Next we have, this is the second Doctor's debut story, which has recently been made into animation form, so it's more readily available for you to watch. I'm just not a big fan of the Daleks, I'm afraid, so I don't really enjoy this much as a lot of people do, but I do love the Doctor's reaction to Ben and Polly suddenly being in the TARDIS and wondering what the hell's going on, and 2 being very quirky and having a love for hats very similar to the 11th Doctor. Right, and next we have the 10th Planet, which was the first Doctor's last story, and this is also the debut of the Cybermen, who are actually very interesting in this and do make an impact, and we learn about obviously the twin planet of Earth being Moonbase, and it ties in a lot to the information that we got from World Enough in Time 2-parter at the end of New Who Series 10. Ben and Polly are used very well here. They both have something to do.
and it's a fun time, and it's a very good episode that I would recommend, not just for the fact that the first Doctor regenerates, but it is a very good Cyberman story, and the companions are used well, as I said. So next we're moving on to the really good ones that I rewatch a lot, or, well, I don't know if you can rewatch this because it is just pictures, this one, the Highlanders, but it is one of those pure historical fun romps that were right in the beginning of Classic Who. There's a lot of good comedy moments. This is the introduction of Jamie, who obviously stays with the Doctor long after Ben and Polly have gone. Yeah, great comedy moments and just a really interesting, fun little story. A proper romp, this one, so I'd recommend that you give it a go, even if you don't think you'll be able to handle just watching the pictures. It's definitely worth it. So now we're moving on to the top 3, the ultimate Ben and Polly episodes. So number 3, we have their debut story, The War Machines, which is really, really interesting and really engaging. It's a little bit slower than obviously New Who, but I think it has those kind of dynamics with Ben and Polly's introduction, the departure of Dodo, which isn't great and is quite funny, to be honest, but you also get the first Doctor going into a club and you get Ben and Polly meeting at the club and the Doctor being badass and facing up to the villain, as we see there in the picture, the actual War Machine. A lot going on, a bit of hypnotism, a bit of craziness. It's Doctor Who. But yeah, this was a really, really nice introduction for Ben and Polly, and still remains one of my favourite stories with them. It is one of the classic episodes, really enjoyable. But not as good as number 2, which is the Macra Terror, which has recently been transformed into an animated version, where the crab creatures don't look as scary as they do in this picture here. But it is still definitely a good time, and there's lots of fun moments. Jamie doing the Highland fling dance, evil Ben, this iconic shot of Ben and Polly clinging to each other. It's quite an interesting plot, actually. I won't spoil it for you. I've already spoiled it enough. But yeah, this is another second Doctor one. And it's just good old fun, to be honest. I just really enjoy it and have a soft spot for it, and probably think that it's better than what it is objectively, but there we go. And number 1, finally, is probably a controversial one, the Underwater Menace, which is, I believe some of the episodes still exist and some of them don't. It was going to be animated, but it was kind of abandoned, so now on the DVD they've just released the pictures along with the audio, and then obviously with the episodes that are real. But it's so wacky and so mental. One about Atlantis, and something crazy almost happens to Polly, and just look at those pictures of the crazy kind of fish people. It's absolutely mental. It reminds me a bit of the Rings of Akaten, just because it is a little bit outside the box and a little bit different. So if you are a fan of that episode, or episodes that just are very controversial, some people love them, some people hate them, this is very much a Marmite episode. And then the standout of the evil guy going, "Nothing in the world can stop me now," but in an actual, well, putting on a German accent. Oh, it's just everything. And as you see there, the second Doctor and Polly in the bottom hand corner there, huddled up together, and 2 doing lots of different disguises and just being his wacky self. And this episode actually had the first footage of him, because the Highlanders doesn't exist. So yeah, that is definitely my favourite. Please do check them out if you want to see a bit of Ben and Polly, underrated companions. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you'd like to like and subscribe. Please go ahead and write in the comments ranking your own Ben and Polly stories, or just your favourite stories with the Second Doctor. Thank you very much for tuning into my video. I'll see you later.